Films can illuminate new landscapes, chart new maps, model new paradigms, and emphasize empowerment for the future. I'm Audrey Hope, and this is Real Women. And my special guest today, Stephen Simon, is a visionary, an inspiring force. We know Stephen Simon because when he produced for Ray Stark and Dino De Laurentiis, he was responsible for so many movies. Smokey and the Bandit, The Electric Horseman, Neil Simon projects such as The Goodbye Girl. He helped produce Somewhere in Time with Christopher Reeve and James Seymour, and he created a new genre with Madonna's Truth or Dare. What Dreams May Come was a 20-year dream come true. Welcome, Stephen.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Such an honor for you to be here. You really are very accessible to artists and screenwriters, and you've been so successful, and we really appreciate that. I'd like to talk about the power in filmmaking and how it can impact our consciousness and help us heal the planet.
Well, filmmaking has always had the power within it to reach inside people's souls and hearts. And certainly as the only really art form that has come about in the 20th century, the 21st century, it has had the power to reach inside of people and to give us visions of who we really might be when we can be functioning at our very best. What Metafilmics is, and Metafilmics is a co-creation of myself and my partner, Barnett Bain, and we created that together, is a company that is completely devoted to making the next step at the next millennium and taking the power of film and television and being able to project those images not only in those medium, but in the internet for original filmmaking, and really be able to go out where people have been dreaming to go forever. Technology at this stage in the advent of film has gone as far as it can possibly go in taking us into the outer world. All of those outer world experiences have been mapped. There's only so many times you can go into outer space and things like that. The inner experience, dreams, imagination, where we can go and who we really might be as a humanity is a completely untapped world. And we really feel that this kind of filmmaking, which has been around forever, we haven't created it. It's a Wonderful Life, Heaven Can Wait, Ghosts, it's always done. But it's never recognized as its own genre. And the reason for that is because, frankly, the people who have been making the decisions about filmmaking over the last 20, 30, 40 years don't see it that way. They don't understand that these are not just fantasy films, that these are films about really who we may be as a humanity. So what we are trying to do with Metafilmics is say, look, it is a new genre. It's the first new genre since science fiction, really, to be recognized as its own thing. And that means within the genre there'll be action films, there'll be dramas, there'll be comedies, there'll be adventures and things like that. But to go out now and to say, all right, let's take that technology, which we did in What Dreams May Come. Let's take the technology that's been created for other things and put it to the use of the inner experience, the human experience. And what we hope is that people will leave the theater, if it's in a theater, or in their home. At the end of each of them, they will feel somewhat better about being a human being than they did at the beginning, and that's the mission of the company.
You want it to be mainstream, and you don't want to teach. You want to touch.
We can't teach. And I'm glad you brought that up.
Yes, absolutely.
We have no answers. And we have no answers. I don't know any more than you or anybody else about what these mysteries are all about. We all have our own feelings. Humanity has gotten into trouble in the past when one group or another has said, we know the truth.
Oh, God.
And there is
Stay
no...
away from that, yes.
If you're a metaphysician, you believe that each human being creates their own reality. In What Dreams May Come, we were very careful to say this afterlife is not the afterlife. No, we're not going to be so arrogant as to say that we know what the afterlife looks like. We don't. It's this character's afterlife. This Robin Williams playing this character. It's his experience of that afterlife. So don't be threatened if it's not yours. I've always joked that if we'd made that movie with Woody Allen and not Robin Williams, that the afterlife would have been an endless 10th Avenue of movie houses and coffee houses and bookstores. It would have looked completely different.
Absolutely.
So what we really hope that we can do with the projects that we do is say to our audience, look, join us in the question. Join us in the quest and make your own mind up. We don't have any answers. Let's just ask the questions and you provide your own answers.
Absolutely. The story of dreams. Okay, so it appears to be a love story, but it's really about the meaning of life. And I'd really like to talk about the big issues in the movie that we all ask. Let's talk about how it portrays death. Death being the paradise. Tell us about what you were trying to do.
Well, what we really tried to do with What Dreams May Come is to really say, look, life is a transitory state, and so is death. You create your own reality in life, you create your own reality in death. If you have a belief in the eternity of life, which I do, and some people don't, and I respect that, but I believe I've been around for about 40,000 years, and a lot of incarnations in a lot of different places, and keep going. You keep learning lessons, and hopefully you keep evolving. So you go to this afterlife state, whatever it might be. You have whatever experience that you feel your soul needs in that afterlife experience, and then you come back until the time you evolve into some other form. And we don't have the answers for that as well. So the afterlife and What Dreams May Come, from the beginning, which was the beautiful, the painted world, him going into the afterlife of his wife's paintings, to the terror and the fear, which we also create within ourselves, of what we call the hell sequences, because we had no other word for it, but it's not really an objective hell, and it's not really an objective heaven. It was trying to find and retrieve the soul of his wife. What we really tried to create, and what all of the people who were in charge of the images, the director Vincent Ward and Ron Bass's great script, and all of the visual effects people, the people who won the Academy Award for it, did, was create a whole world, the first time in film ever, where an entire afterlife world, not clouds and painted white backgrounds, really so the audience could experience what that was like and ask questions. And where we knew that we had succeeded in it was after one of our screenings, very early on in the process when we were previewing the film. My partner and I walked out into the parking lot about 45 minutes after the film was finished, and 4 or 5 people who had gone to the film were having this heated argument about the film, and 2 or 3 of them loved it, and 1 or 2 of them hated it, and they all thought it meant something different, and they were arguing. And we looked at each other and we said, you know, we did our job, and what we hope is that it created a debate within people. For the first time really since 2001. I remember walking out at the end of 2001, which I think is the greatest film ever made in this genre. That's my own personal opinion. And I remember walking out of that and having arguments with my friends for the last 30 years about what that last 10 or 15 minutes of 2001 meant. So we're very satisfied that we put that out there and let people now start their own dialogue.
We're talking about these were, okay, you might not have understood the film, you might not have liked the film, but you have got to acknowledge that it's incredible that the film was made.
Yeah, the people had a very, very strong reaction to What Dreams May Come. They either loved it or hated it, and there were very few people in between. And I think that when you're trying to raise the bar, that's what you want to do. You want to have people having that active kind of passionate feeling about things. How much passion is there in the world today? I'm not talking about the violence and all that stuff. That's not passion. I'm talking about real passion, people having real emotion, real feelings about things, and real debates about human emotions. That's what the millennium and the next part of the millennium is going to be all about.
Right. Because you also bring up stuff about suicide, which is, it's a violation of the natural order of things. And then the heavy thing is you create your own reality, which some people find this concept very hard to take.
Very frightening for people.
Very frightening.
If you have to take, as I believe you do, as every individual, again, this is my feeling, my belief system, not anybody else's. If I feel that I need to take responsibility for everything that happens in my life, then I don't have the power to blame anybody for anything. So anything that happens is because, and if something unfortunate happens, why did I create that? If something fortunate happens, good, why did I create that? And then the people who you love, who are near you, and the other people that you're with, have impact upon your world to the point where you allow that to happen. But if every single human being on this planet, if we all took responsibility for everything that we did, wouldn't it be a very different world in which to live? You couldn't have the kind of violence and the kind of pain and the kind of suffering that we have. And we hope that the filmmaking that we're going to be doing and the filmmaking that we've begun with What Dreams May Come, and that frankly I started in my own career 20 years ago with Somewhere in Time, will really hopefully move us into this new place. And as you said, have a different definition of success. And if I could go into that for a minute, it's something I would really love to talk about, because it's something that we were very attuned to, and something very powerful happened to us when the film opened that really gave us that definition. this, as you said, this film was a 20-year dream of mine, which I could not realize until I got into my partnership with Barnett. And when the synergy of that created the space for this film to get made.
Yes.
There's no question in my mind. You can't prove resonance scientifically, that is, if you want to use science as the barometer, and I frankly don't, but if you want to, you can't use science to measure a lot of these things. But the synergy of us getting together created the space to make dreams. Then you go out and you kind of get caught and lost at times in the outer world. And how much does a film cost? How much is it going to gross? What do the critics think of it? Yes. And the weekend that it opened, we were just immersed in that, unfortunately, yes. And the universe delivered something really beautiful to us. We got a phone call from a man named Chuck Weber in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And it came through Polygram, who distributed the film, and what we found is that Chuck's daughter, Amanda, was 17 and dying of terminal cancer. And she had seen the trailer for Dreams, but was too ill to get to the theaters. And they asked if we could send a cassette of the film to Milwaukee. And Polygram was just wonderful about it. Film studios do not like to have cassettes of films running around when the film just comes out. And immediately they said, yes, we have to do this. And we got the tape to Milwaukee, and I got Chuck's number. I didn't know him at that time, and left a message for him that we hoped that it would be, you know, useful to them. And 2 weeks later, he called me and told me that he got the tape, showed it to Amanda the night that he got it, which was on a Friday, the Friday after the film opened. And she had a lot of friends in to see it, and he literally saw her fear completely disappear. Wow. As the film was going on, he saw her face change, and all of her fear disappeared. And the next day, he took her out to a park in Wisconsin, the fall, all of the colors, which she related to from the film, all of the colors. And he knew she was ready to go, and she said to him, Dad, I now have a point of reference. And the next day, she died very peacefully. And when he called us, he said to us that that film made all the difference in the last 3 days of this young person's life. And since then, Chuck has become a very dear family friend. That gave us a whole definition of success that has nothing to do, nothing to do with what a critic thinks or a critic doesn't think or how much money a movie makes. If you're dealing with people's lives on that kind of a powerful basis, it's indescribable. The feeling that I have about Amanda will stay with me forever.
That's tremendous. Thank you for sharing that with us, Stephen, because we really need to reevaluate what success is.
You do.
Especially you're fighting in the entertainment industry. I mean, it's a miracle that you got the money for this movie.
And you used the right word.
Miracle.
It is a miracle. Because people have come to me and said, how did you get $75 million to make that movie? And I've said, you know what? I don't know.
Okay, but you also said something about the man on top green-lighted the project and didn't really know that he was green-lighting the project. Is that true?
That's actually true. It's a longer story than we have time for, but the man who was running Polygram at the time, Michael Kuhn, who was in charge of actually green-lighting these films, had kind of like gotten with the process, and really it was the week before we started the film, and they hadn't actually totally given us the green light. And we already had huge financial commitments. There would have been no way to stop it. And I think at that point, Michael kind of realized, oh my goodness, we're actually making this movie. And I give tremendous credit to Polygram and to a wonderful man named Ted Field, who is the owner of Interscope. And Ted was really a great champion for this and helped us get the money from Polygram and get the film on the screen, which I'll always be grateful for.